can you see this person's perspective, but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Terry.
Hey,
how are you?
How are you? I'm good. How are you?
You know, I'm good. Pretty good. It's cold. It's a cold time of year, and we're at a new time. Hey, welcome everybody. We're trying a new thing. We're starting the year, and we're saying, you know what? Our day to day, our 9 to 5s have gotten so busy, and I'm sure that everybody else has too. So we're trying a new thing. And what do y'all think about doing it a little bit later?
Right.
Get people started.
Some people love it. Some people won't like it. It's everybody's got a different taste, right?
Yeah. I will say that I'm going to keep putting the Vault show on at noon. So you're not going to miss if you can't see, but I'm going to keep putting the Vault shows on. So don't worry. At noon on Wednesday, it'll be that. We're just going to go a little bit later, so we don't interfere with everybody's work day. So a lot of people, they'll say, oh, I can only stay for a certain amount of time because it's my lunch break or whatever. And so we're starting something new. There's Elizabeth. Hey.
Good to see you too, Elizabeth.
And Michelle's, I like Michelle's goes, sure, why not? Michelle just rolls with it, And Elizabeth says, I'm terrific with this time, and I'd be here no matter what time.
Oh,
I know Elizabeth, she sets the alarm. Her alarm goes off, and those are your real loyal folks who are part of what we do. If you love what we do here and you want to share it, we talk about something, share it on your page and say, hey, I watch this. People are watching on YouTube, LinkedIn. A lot of people responded this morning to our Vault show on LinkedIn. And we're going to continue that thought. Teri does something called a vision board, and she does vision boards different than anybody else. And there's a story that I want you to kick us off with that you told me about your wonderful guys at Riverbend.
Yeah. Well, we did. We've done vision boards out there for a long time, and I'll make this really short, but and many of them have had great success with them. Greg, one of the gentlemen who I worked with out there, worked on his vision board for a couple of years. And the first time he started with it, it was different things. It was like cars and, beach vacations and things like that, and over time he got out of that space and went more into like what he wanted his life to actually look like. And so on his vision board, we quadranted them off, and he had in there family, work, travel, leisure, home life. And so what he had done was in his home life, he wanted to reconcile with his son. He wanted to make parole after several years. He wanted to have his own car. He wanted to live in an apartment that overlooked, is it LP or Nissan? Is it Nissan Stadium now? I forget. It changes so much.
I don't know.
Where the football stadium is. He wanted to live in an apartment downtown that overlooked that. And he had specifics around his apartment. He wanted to have hardwood floors. He wanted exposed ceiling beams, things like that. And he wanted to work in supervision or management. So he, about 7 months later, made parole, all the time working on his vision board. And I'll loop in a little bit about the vision board and how we do it. Working on a vision board, you have someone quadrant the areas off that they want to work on, and they spend time every day looking at it, thinking about it, feeling it, smelling it, all of that. And so he wanted to have an apartment, like I said, that had exposed beams, concrete, very industrial, modern-ish looking. And so he makes parole and he gets out and gets his job doing a forklift. And he said, this is not really what I want to do. And I said, go back and tell him this is not what you want to do. Tell them what you want to do. And he was like, okay, I will. So he went back and he spoke into existence what he wanted. So they gave him a job. He got a job at the turnip truck, interviewed for it, got it.
Yeah.
Within a few months was moved from bagging groceries or whatever the medial job was there to doing the smoothie bar. From that, he was moved into supervision there of that. He also wanted to do body workout and all that kind of stuff. So he got his training and he started being a personal bodybuilder and trainer at the YMCA. And one day I was in session and my phone rang. I saw it go off. And after session was over, I checked it. And all I heard was him saying, "You're not going to believe what happened. Check this out." And he sends me a picture. It's an actor. I don't remember. He looks kind of like Pauly Shore, but it's not Pauly Shore. I don't know who the guy is. But he was in town shooting a movie and struck up a conversation with the manager there at the store and with Greg. And he had purchased a used truck while he was in town. He needed it for the period that he was here. He gifted that to Greg. And so that was another check off of Greg's vision board. And a couple of weeks later, my daughter and I went to pick him up and went to Baja Burrito, had lunch, came back. He said, "Do you see those apartments over there?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I put a contract in on one of them. I'm going to live there." I said, I know you will. A few weeks later after that, I get another call and all it is are keys rattling. And he said, "Call me." So I call him when I am out of session. And he said, "Do you remember that apartment I told you?" It was Laurel House. If anyone knows the Gulch area, that's it. He said, "Do you remember the apartment I told you about?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I want you to come see it." I said, "Great, I'm on my way." So I drove over there. Wouldn't you know, exposed beams, concrete floors / wooden floors, everything he wanted. The one thing was it was not overlooking the football stadium. And I was joking with him and I said, "You've gotten everything you visioned. You visioned what it would look like, what it would sound like, what it would smell like." And so he said, I said it, "But the one thing you don't have is you're looking at, the turnip truck. You're not looking at LP Field." And he laughed and he said, "Come with me." We walked out of his door. We walked about 20 feet down the hall and out onto a lanai. And on that lanai, it looked straight over to the football stadium. So he could sit out there in the mornings and drink his coffee, all of that. So that to be said, with vision boards, the way that I do them, and other people may do them this way as well, you sit with your vision board, and if it's an apartment or if it's a boathouse or if it's a relationship or if it's whatever it is, you go into it and like I had a client say she was going to buy a house. She wanted to buy a house and she didn't know, she just wanted a house. And I said, "Well, what would your ideal house look like?" So she envisioned this house. It had a wraparound porch. It had a fenced in backyard. It was 2 stories. It had steps going up. I said, "Where are your steps at on the inside?" And she said, "Well, when you open the door, the steps are just there." And I said, "Do you open the door to the right or the left?" And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Do you open the door to the right or the left?" And she was like, "Well, it would open to the left because then there's a wall there and then the steps go up." And she proceeded to tell me the rest of her house. She went to North Carolina about 3 months later to look for houses. And all I got was a text. And she said, "I found my house. We need to talk." I said, "Okay." So she sends me a picture of her house. Huge front yard, manicured the way she had talked about, swing on the front porch, what she had talked about, steps, all of this, everything. And she wanted the front door to be a red front door and it needed to open to the left. And all she did was when she sent me the picture, she edited it and she just squared out the front door and then she pointed to the doorknob and she was like, "I can't believe this." And it was a red front door and it opened to the left. And she currently now lives in that house. So, these things, when you spend time on your vision board, and if it's a car or a, peace of mind, take yourself to that place and sit there. And what does that look like? What does it feel like? Do you smell if you're taking an ocean trip or buying a house somewhere, do you smell what that smells like? Do you see yourself sitting inside of it? Do you feel the carpet underneath your toes? what does it feel like? What does it smell like? What are the sounds that you're hearing when you're in there? You have to literally transport yourself to that space. And when you do, your brain recognizes it as an experience. And so then it becomes a probability more than just a possibility, because otherwise your brain says, well, you've never had a lake house before. You're probably not going to get this one. But if you experience it enough in your visualizations, your brain recognizes it as being something that is probable for you to have. And then you can have whatever.
Elizabeth adds to that, I'm going to do some manifesting via a vision board. Put what is in my head into my reality. I love that.
Absolutely.
And Angie is joining us. And then Brian. Hi, Brian. Haven't seen you in a while. Happy Wednesday.
Brian.
Hope you're having a beautiful day and a New Year's off to a great start. You know what? We're here. So to that end, yes, it's a great start. We're here and we have new days left. And I think this is a year of therapeutics for a lot of people. I'm doing a lot of things for my health, and I feel like, I've had really low energy, and I've had some depression and some things that I've been dealing with. So I'm doing some things to increase my immune system and whatever I can. And so I've been doing some liquid B12, and boy, just a few days and with liquid B12 has really helped me a lot.
Nice.
I always tell everybody, I said, sometimes your body is telling you something. If you start realizing you are really suffering with not being able to stay awake, or you're tired, you're exhausted all the time, start looking at your habits, start looking at your nutrition. And so that's part of my vision board is just nutrition, because I have been very guilty of, since a lot of time I work at my house, of rolling out of bed at 5:30 in the morning and just start work in my bed. And then at 5:30 in the afternoon, I'm still sitting in that same spot. And I haven't had coffee. I haven't had anything to eat. All I've done is go to the bathroom and run back, to what I'm doing. And I go, that's not good.
Right.
And so that's where we are. Oh, Jill is joining us. Hello, Jill Pavel. How are you? Glad to have you here. Nutrition is a huge key in our physical and emotional health. It is.
It's huge for our emotional and mental, because one of the things that people don't realize is that even in the winter you still need to stay hydrated. A lot of times people will want to just stay hydrated in the summer and the spring because it's like, oh, it's so hot outside. But hydration is really important for your brain and your heart all the time. So staying hydrated, and not just off of coffee, tea, and Coke, but like water. Lots of water.
It's guilty. I make sure that all my livestock gets their water. I've been out filling up livestock tanks. So I apologize. Look, I'm wearing my hoodie. It is freezing, and I've been out breaking ice in water tanks today and doing what I do. But that's kind of that's my little bit of my physical workout. And I know a part of a vision too, we call it people make New Year's resolutions. By this week, most people have left their New Year's resolution.
Lots of people have. Some people hold steady. I'll tell you this. I went to the gym. I've been going to the gym now for a year. I go Monday through Friday, and take off Saturday and Sunday. Those first couple of days after New Year's, I said, "Ooh, I need to take a vacation from this gym." Because there was so many people in there, and God love them. I mean, you know what? Even if you go for once or twice, if it triggers something in you, and then maybe you don't go to the gym all the time, maybe you start walking, or maybe you do stretching at home, or maybe you just change whatever it is you do. But there was a lot of people in that gym. And when I went to that gym today, I had my pick of everything I wanted. I was like, oh, we're mid-January.
Yeah, it's the time people leave.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I don't do resolutions, because when I think, and some people love them, and I think if you love them, more power to you. Do them. If it works for you, great. But for the majority of people, who have tried something in the past and it didn't stick, whether it was losing weight, stopping smoking, stopping drinking, stopping shopping, exercising, cutting out whatever it is they want to cut out in their diet, walking every day, whatever, getting up at a certain time, whatever it is. When the brain hasn't had an opportunity to warm itself up to that idea, and you go hard all the way to December the 30th or the 31st, and then you think that magically overnight you're going to wake up and clean your refrigerator out and that's going to be that. You got so many chemicals and sugar and nicotine and booze and all that stuff surging through your body. It's twice as hard to just, or 3 times as hard to just stop in the middle of it and go, I'm just going to pivot and turn around altogether, and I'm like, the brain, most people, if you ask them, have you succeeded at your New Year's resolutions? The majority of people will say no. You will have some people that say, yes, I have, but the majority of people will say no. And the brain sets us up to feel like we have failed over and over. And it's just, I don't think it's healthy.
I agree with you. And I usually have a word for the year. My word comes to me. I pray for it and wait for it to come. And it hasn't come to me yet. So I'm not sure. I've got a lot of things on my list I want to do this year, but my word hasn't come to me. My specific word hasn't come to me yet. Elizabeth says, I haven't made New Year's resolutions for years. I know I'd set myself up for failure and then use that failure to beat myself up.
That's exactly what people do, Elizabeth. They it's unintentionally. I don't think people intentionally set themselves up to go, woo-hoo, I'm going to fail. But subconsciously, they set themselves up for that.
Yeah.
And that's where vision boardings can come in and can help, because whether you have a vision board and you have one whole vision board with one particular area, or you split it in 2 and you have 2 areas, or you square it off and you have 4, the one thing that you want to be careful doing is not getting so many areas that you can't spend time on those areas. I was working with somebody one time that was going to open up their own business. And I asked them about their vision board and they said, well, I wrote the address or the area and I wrote the this and I wrote the that and I wrote the this. And I was like, okay, so just question for you. How stimulating is looking at those words? And they were like, not very. And I was like, okay, what colors are you going to paint your walls in your office? And then they went to, I don't know if it was Lowe's, Home Depot, wherever they went, and got paint swatches. And then they put those on the vision board. And then they had pillows at their home that they were actually going to rehome. And they took little snippets of the material off of it and put that on their vision board, because they knew they were going to do a certain aesthetic in the office. And, and then for their business cards, I said, go on Vistaprint, buy you a set of business cards for $4.99, take one of them out and put it on your board. You can work them up just like they're going to be. She said, well, I'm not ready to start my business just yet. And I was like, it's $5. That's not even a coffee at Starbucks. Put your business card up there. So her vision board she had an entire vision board, and her vision board she had done on, not the big massive poster board, but kind of like the yard sale poster boards. What are they, like a 18 by 12 or something? Not super big. Or maybe a 15 by something. She had it on that. And so, she had everything there the way that she wanted it. And she knew that she was going to do diffusers and things like that. So what she did was she took the aromatherapies that she is most partial to, that she uses a lot, and she put that on cotton balls. And then I had her stick that on her vision board so that when she walked by her vision board, she smelled it. And so it kept bringing everything into that space for her. And she now owns her business and is successful with it. And
her business probably smells really good.
It probably does. It probably does. And so that's,
I know. I love that too, Elizabeth. I love it too. She also says, seems like so many resolutions, just typical to lose weight, work out more, stop smoking. Everyone wants those things. We recite them without thinking about what our real goals and plans should be. I know. That's true.
yeah. But we get in a habit of, if we're not really bringing intention to something, we get in a habit of just saying things. Our brain and our mouth works on, and our actions work on autopilot a lot of the time. So creating a space where, you are, if you're going to do gardening, grab the flower, print them offline, the flowers, draw your garden area out, what it's going to look like in your backyard or your front or side yard, and then put those flowers around there. Does it take time? Yeah, it takes time. But when you're looking at it, what you're doing is you're creating an art form, and then your brain is seeing it and going, oh yeah, that's what I want. Maybe you search Pinterest, or maybe you search magazines, or maybe you search just Google. God, we've got Google at our fingertips. Google what you're looking for, and if you've got a printer, print it out and put it there, and make it to scale so that you're looking at something and it feels good.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Jill says, my biggest resolution this year is to give myself grace because I spend too much time being hard on myself instead of celebrating small wins. Girl, Jill, she does that. Sometimes she'll just beat herself up. I just love myself. So I love me some Jill. And yeah, I mean, and she's one of the most uplifting cheerleaders for everybody else. But we have to become our own cheerleaders as we go through this life. And some people like that vision board. I've seen people do some different things, like if you're into scrapbooking, I've had people do a vision scrapbook, literally take a scrapbook of things, and every page they just go through and leaf through that every day. And every time they complete a new page, it's a new idea, it's a new vision. And I love all of your senses being part of it. The other thing is a vision journal. They write down and draw and put pictures, paste pictures in and stuff, and you don't realize how those exercises bring things into reality.
Yeah, I will say this, and it's not to knock the journals or the scrapbooks, but keeping it simple where you can post it, on your bathroom door or on your bedroom door or inside, by your refrigerator or wherever, where you see it and where it's really effortless. You walk by it and see it, and you're not having to sit down and thumb through things. Plus, another thing is that when we do scrapbooking, and a lot of people love the scrapbooking, and again, just like hairstyles, there's one for everybody. So pick what works for you. But when you get into scrapbooking, then you've got so many pages and then it's like, oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. And then that seems to trigger what people love to call ADHD these days. Like that triggers the brain to bounce everywhere. And so it can't focus in on one thing. So the focusing in on the one thing is what gives us that ability to go, yeah, I've spent a lot of energy on this. I can see it. I can hear it. I can smell it. I can taste it. If you're going to make, you're going to bake things, what does it taste like? I mean, like allow all of your senses to engage that vision board, not historically what people have done in vision boards. And there's no shade to this, but a lot of times people, would cut out pictures off of a magazine or words off of a magazine, slap it on a cardboard, poster board. And then they go, here's my vision board. And that's great. But you have to, like, your brain sees it and it's like, what do you want to be this year? Reliable and caring. Well, what does reliable look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? What do you, what does caring look or sound, or what is that? What is that for you?
I love that. You know what? And it might be better if you have the journal aspect of it, to have your posted journal, your posted vision board, and then you have your journal where you can look at it, where you write down, what have I done toward my, for me, I'm a person, if I have to write it physically down to keep on track. I have to have my notes and stuff like that. Oh, by the way, hey, John Dwyer. John Dwyer is, can I live in your home? That's so funny, isn't it? If you think my home is actually like this, I go virtual backgrounds because I have right now, there's, you know, dogs, cats, everything all around me because I'm not in my office. But you know what? You know, it's a vision board statement. So I'm putting my vision board on my whole profile right now.
There you go. There you
See,
go.
Angie says, I suck at vision boards or whatnot. I will start it, but never finish it. Okay. I'm going to just turn Teri over. I'm going to turn that one over. Angie, I'm guilty of the very same thing, but let's talk about the language there.
Okay, first, Angie. First, let me just say this. Angie was in our Monday night women's group, Wise Women and Sage Sisters, and we're doing it twice a month this year. We're doing it the second the second Monday and the fourth or the last Monday of the month. And we always schedule it for an hour. And I don't know if Angie or EB just wants to throw up in the comments how long we were on that call. But I'm not going to say. I'm going to let somebody else say so that y'all will know it didn't come from me. But you don't suck at vision boards. What you do is you're not paying or you're not, well, I won't tell you what you're not doing. I'll ask you, you say you suck at vision boards, you start them and you don't finish them. Why don't you finish them? There you go. That's how long we were on that call. I would, like, what is it that stops you from finishing it?
They're going 3 hours and almost 4 hours. Jill says, this might sound corny, but I started emailing myself at bedtime every night. One nice thing that I did for myself that day. It's nice to wake up and start my work day in a positive note. I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Leslie's with us. Hey, Leslie. How are you, Leslie? Joins us as well today. Hey, and Angie says, I lose interest. Okay, let's talk about losing interest in your vision board.
Okay, so if you're losing interest in your vision board, I would challenge you to look at, is it that important to you? Like, a lot of times we can be, and Angie, I'm not saying you're flighty, but our brain can be a little flighty around, oh, I want that, or I want to do that. And then it trails off because one, life comes in, right? We have kids, we have spouses and wives and grandchildren and dogs, and we got all kinds of stuff. But spending a little time on something that enriches your soul, makes you happy, and can enrich your life, even if it's 10 minutes a day. It's not about sitting down like workshop style and knocking out a vision board, and taking 4 hours in a night to do it. You can collect the stuff as you go along and then sit down with a cup of coffee, some music, a fireplace, whatever it is, and just start putting it together. And then when you're done with it for that night, put it to the side. Treat it almost like a puzzle. Keep coming back to it. And schedule yourself time to do it. If you're losing interest in it, then sometimes those are just things that either the brain has said, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
Ooh.
And so we just go, well, why do this? This is a waste of time. I don't even want to do it anymore. So if there's something that is on your vision board that you really, really want to bring into your life, allow yourself the opportunity to work on it a little bit at a time. I have clients that take manila envelopes, like the mailing envelopes, and write on the outside what it is. Like, if it's something they're wanting to do to their home, they'll write it on the outside. Or if it's garden, they'll write it on the outside. If it's relationship, and then they'll go through a couple of weeks of just like finding things that really make them, that work, that feels good to them. And then they drop it in the envelope.
In the envelope, yeah.
And then they take one envelope out and they do one section of their vision board. And then they'll do another section.
One way that worked for me, and I don't know, Angie, if this will work for you too, is when I found something that I wanted to do with my life, or I found something that I liked, kind of like Pinterest, I got I got a cork bulletin board, and I just put the bulletin board up and some because I've done a lot of different scrapbooks and stuff like that. I ain't going to be about that anymore, but I can use my push pins
Mm-hmm.
and pictures or words, and I just put me some or little post-it notes, and I would write things in, and I am totally ADHD, so I would put it in based on that, but I would just use my push pins. But I'd put them in a little grouping. It's like, okay, there's a little house part, there's a little dreamscape, there's some things I wanted to get accomplished. But I would just push pin things in. For one time I did it on the with refrigerator magnets, and I put things on my refrigerator.
Mm-hmm. Well, the one thing I will say about if you're going to use a word,
Mm-hmm.
find a picture that exemplifies what that word means to you.
Ah, that's good. That's really good.
Because if you're just using words, then you're just engaging your executive brain, part of your brain, not your emotional. And a vision board, people will say, see it before you believe it. A vision board is believing it before you actually see it. It's putting it on there and it's believing that that's going to happen for you, smelling it, seeing it, touching it, making all the things tangible that you can make tangible on it, and then allowing yourself to take those action steps. It's not about creating a vision board, spending a little bit of time with it, and then going, I'm going to walk away and zippity boopity boopity boop, and then next week I'm going to have this. That's not what it's about at all. It's about recognizing that you're going to allow your brain to be subject to receiving this, therefore it becomes probable, and then you're going to do the action steps that it takes to have it. So if one of your vision board things is getting healthy, healthy can be a lot of different things, but if getting healthy means you're going to eat differently, then that means that during the day, you're making conscious choices that keep you in that vein. That doesn't mean that all day, every day, all you're doing is eating salad like a rabbit. Maybe you do have your whatever, your I can't think of what all Starbucks sells, but the Laca Motte cappuccino verde, whatever. Verde, I think that's Mexican.
Venti.
Thank you. So if you're having, you can have those things, treat yourself to those things, but also consider, if you always get a large, consider a small.
Mm-hmm.
Do the action steps. If you want a home that, or a nice car, then next time you pull up at Big Lots to go in and buy $40 with stuff you don't need, maybe transfer that money into a car fund that you would be saving for. Allow your brain to see these things and to work towards them. But I can tell you that, with the gentleman that I worked with at Riverbend, and they all vision board. They all did their vision boarding. And one of them owns his own moving company. One of them has a concrete company, or not company, but he works for a concrete company that actually contracts out through one of the big universities that also has a medical center that's right off of West End. I won't say names, but whatever. Then, Greg has done his thing, and Brandon had his own trucking. He bought his own 18-wheel or semi truck like these. And one of them had a mobile car wash thing that he's done for years now. You can visualize, and the only thing that stops us from having the things that we truly, truly, truly find important and want in our life is ourself. Now, when I have people, and I've said this, I know a lot of times people will be like, well, I can't have everything I want. Well, okay, first break it down. I've had people come to me before and say, well, I can't be, I can't be an astronaut. And I'm like, okay, if you're just wanting to argue for the sake of arguing, do you really want to be an astronaut? Like right now, today, if they walked in here from NASA and said, we're going to make you an astronaut, what would you say? well, I mean, I don't really want to be an astronaut. And I'm like, then don't argue that. That's your brain trying to justify all it can'ts.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Absolutely. Elizabeth says, my difficulty comes in when trying to decide what it is I really want. Do I really want it? Or do I want it because I think I should want it? That's what I need to sort out first. And that's always good. It's kind of what that goes along with what you're saying too. Is like, do you really want that? You know, and you know, I talk a lot about too. It's like, you know, well, you know, being a ballet dancer. Well, I love ballet. I love dancing. I love that whole thing. Well, I may not be a prima ballerina. You know, that may not be what's in there, but I can take dance lessons.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that. And we can all do that. We can take a class. We can learn. We can dance in our home. We can literally turn on beginner ballerina work and do, we can do our bar work and everything sitting at our house. If we like
Mm-hmm.
doing that, turn on some classical music and just go to town. You know, look at what your vision, where your vision board is taking you. And it really, it's helpful to kind of figure out what it is that you want, start putting those things down, and just kind of, it's a positive step in the right direction.
And also be okay with letting your vision board evolve. You know, be okay.
Mhm.
Don't get so hard in your head that it's like it's got to be perfect right out of the gate. Be okay with letting it evolve. You know, let it, you know, maybe you want, you know, maybe you want to open up your own bakery. And so you think, oh, well, I want this kind of wallpaper or this kind of, you know, chairs, or maybe you want to redo your living room, or maybe you want inner peace. You know, when you think inner peace, you think, you know, like you see yourself with yoga or meditation, or maybe happier, just feeling more fulfilled and joyful. And maybe that's a connection to God, or maybe that's, you know, whatever it is for you.
Mhm.
And be okay with it being, you know, maybe it's not, I'm not so much this is what I thought it was, but I'm feeling like it's more this. Be okay with changing that out. Here's the reason: when we don't change those things out, we end up in the same patterns that got us where we are.
Yep.
Because most of the time we're imprinted at early ages from all kinds of people. And, you know, I said this to a client today, you know, they mentioned something, and I said, well, is there ever been a reality in your life that's existed? And they said, no, never. And I said, because before your memory was actually started, and before we were able to remember from recollection or recall memory, we have 5-6 years of being told what to do, how to do it, and all of that. And no shade. I mean, you know, obviously we need to learn and grow, but a big part of that is being imprinted with others' beliefs, others' thoughts, others, this is how you do it. And some of that is healthy and sticks, and some of that is not healthy and it sticks too. So then
Oh,
by the time we become an adult, just like Elizabeth said, to her point, we don't know. We think we should want these things. And then we have to question ourselves, why? Why do I want this? You
mhm.
know, why? Does it really bring me joy? Or is it like, you know, I think I want this because everybody expects me to be this way.
Mhm. Yeah, I had a lot of people because, you know, I'm thinking very positively because I'll be turning 63 very soon. And, you know, the closer you get to 65, there's that big, you know, oh, but then you can retire. Then you can retire. Well, I don't want to retire. I love working. I love doing what I do. I mean, I always want to work. And that's why retirement dreams are not on my vision board.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that nobody's going to make you retire. You
Right.
know, you can always work somewhere and do something. I mean, you can always find a way to be part of it. So don't let somebody else determine what your is on your vision board. You really put some thought into it. And sometimes, Angie, you know, that losing interest stuff, a lot of times it becomes my prayer board as well. I call it my prayer board because it's like, okay, I'm going to pray toward these things. It's like, God, what on this is in your plan for me? That's really a lot of that where I am right now because um, you know, I spent a few years now floundering a little bit. And so it's like, okay, I need my focus I need my eyes going in a direction. It's like, so I'm asking for a higher power to help guide me in a direction. And that is really helping me. So maybe that's something that can help you. We're going to bring things down to a close tonight because we could just talk all night on this. And this is so much fun.
Lord, don't get us started. We was on that call for almost 4 hours the other night.
Well, we are going to bring it down to every Wednesday is kind of our launch day. And we will have a vault show at noon on Wednesday. And then we will have our live show in the 5-ish time, only because every now and then I have a little technical glitch like today. It's like, sometimes those updates make everything screw up. And I go, oh, Lord, what is my login to all this stuff, And and why my computer doesn't remember the login. I go, you expect me to remember? My computer doesn't even remember it.
Right.
So anyway, and Elizabeth says, I love the new schedule. So that's good. And you guys will have plenty of launch day. If you have something that you want to ask us about, or you want to have it as part of what we do, you make sure that you reach out to us. If you would like to get a one-on-one with Teri, you can go to terrypugh.com, Transcending Turbulence on Facebook.
And Transcending Turbulence on Instagram.
Yes, go to the gram.
Those are really the only socials that I have. I mean, I have, I had Twitter for a while. I got rid of that. I have LinkedIn, but I don't really use that. So
I do. We on LinkedIn tonight on my page, so we can be a part of that as well. Angie said good night, everyone. Love that it's now in the evening. Well, and she's in our, just like Teri. We talked about our Eastern time and our Central time, and there's some people that are it's still in the afternoon for our California folks, for Bill and that crew. Oh, by the way, Bill Sinke, who was a guest of ours from time to time, he's on the road right now. He's a traveling musician and he's out doing a lot of gigs, but he said so far his house is intact and doing okay in California. So God bless. Corinne just joined us. Hey, Corinne, good to have you. She's one of our Floridians now. You guys have a great rest of your night, and hopefully you'll join us and share and be part of what we do here at LaunchDate. When is the next event for your ladies?
The last Monday of this month, so the 27th.
Okay.
27th. So if there's anybody out there listening and they want to join, it's a no obligation. And really, we talk about everything. I mean, it's alphabet soup. Sometimes we get off on a thing and it'll have a little more traction. This week, we talked about everything. So it was interesting and it was fun. So it's just a great way to support and, be present and listen to people who want to share what's going on that's heavy in their life, or going on that's light in their life. We laugh, sometimes we cry, sometimes we just scratch our head and say, what the hell, but it's all good.
Yeah, well, and by the way, Corinne is in Georgia, not Florida. I don't know why I haven't people move from the great north and they go to Florida. I mean, no, she went to Georgia. Let's be real. All right. Well, I'm going to let Teri take us home.
Well, as always, to sound like a broken record, we absolutely appreciate you guys and gals spending. Yes, we did, Angie. Yes, we did. We talked about it all. And you know what? Have you seen the trend going around? No judgment, just listening, or whatever that thing is. That's exactly how this group is. I mean, it is, if someone is having a bad moment and they need support, they get it. Otherwise, it's just kind of like, Lord, you're not going to believe this. And everybody just kind of is like, all right. So it's a great group of women. I really do enjoy it. But yes, to sound like a broken record, we absolutely appreciate the time and the energy that you all invest in showing up, whether it's our midday or whether it's our afternoon on launch date. We do this because we truly appreciate and treasure you ladies and gentlemen as a part of our family. So, send us any comments, any suggestions you want to hear about, and we're going to make this next 300 and however many days we got left in this interesting. If it hasn't been interesting yet, buckle up, Buttercup, because it will. So,
that's it.
And in between now and then, please do your very best to take care of yourself. Treat yourself to self-kindness and increase the peace. See ya.
Bye, you guys.